Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation, know yourself. Interchangeable. Right. Today, I'm just going to get straight down to it. As always, this is a special video. Of course, I would say that. Of course, he would say that. Many of you may think, but no, really, this one, I think everyone will find is a very interesting one. I put out a survey about, I don't know, maybe about half an hour or so ago. And I'm going to see just for you guys what you would think would be the best time to put the video out, because I want everyone to catch this. Obviously, it depends how many people kind of respond and this, that, and the other. But pardon me. I'd like to put it out at the right time, or the time that's most convenient for everyone to see. Why? So before I proceed, what is the time? It is 10:28 in the evening here in the UK, and it is the 15th of February 2020. What is this video about? I think it is overdue. We are overdue another look at the USA chart, constitutional chart, Russia's chart, Joe Biden's chart, Putinska's chart. Yeah. I'm also going to look, I've also got China's chart, Merrick Garland's, and Mitch McConnell's. Yeah. This is an extravaganza today, folks. So get yourself ready. Yeah. Make sure that, your underwear and everything is all strapped on, because I'm going to look at all of these things together. Why? Because there is such a confluence of events. We're all seeing it. We're all feeling it. It's just all building. Yeah, it's just all building, frothing, bubbling. Yeah, almost kind of like a volcano where the lava has kind of come up, and we're not sure if it's just going to go kaboom or if it's just going to simmer down. Yeah, we're not really sure. So to describe what's going on, so again, just to show you here, so I'm going to do a combination of, here we are, Russia's charts, where I'll be holding that up to the camera, China, where are we? America's chart, as I said. Yeah, these are sort of like these kind of early ones. We know we've got America's chart up there, but I didn't want to keep flapping and stuff like that because I want to talk about the houses, and they're very important. And like I said, Mitch McConnell, Merrick Garland, Joe Biden, Putinska. And for Duck L'Orange, I'll just flip the chart. His ones is underneath there, but he's not the main focus at the moment. So let's contextualize everything. Even though we're going to cover a lot of ground in this video, but also as well simultaneously, I don't want the video to be too long either. I mean, I think 45 minutes is all right, but if I can keep it to sort of like maybe around a half hour, that might be quite good, because I do like the quick ones as well, and also as well it reduces the downloading time. Okay. So what are we seeing? Yeah, we cannot turn on the news, switch on the news, this, that, and the other, without people saying Ukraine, war, Russia, Ukraine, war, Russia. What's going to happen? Yeah. And that is not to trivialize the what's going on. Of course not. This is an incredible situation. If war breaks out, this will be the first time that war has happened in Europe since the Second World War. Yeah. But I'm sure you guys will remember when we did the last Hodigo, we did last Hodigo, and we were pulling some cards. And do you remember when I pulled the cards for Putinska, who I'm thinking of giving a new nickname, by the way, and I'll explain, because I like my nicknames, but also as well, it's just to stop them chopping off, with the algorithm. Yeah. Now, the whole thing, oh gosh, lost my train of thought there. But in terms of, that's it. Now, remember for Putinska, when I pulled cards for him, do you remember that I got the Three of Cups? Do you remember, which is like a party, you know, and a kind of a celebration? Do you remember I said, I think Putinska is doing this for a negotiating position. And do you remember how I was talking about that there was this element there of the poverty card came up, and there was stuff about the oligarchy and the deals behind the scenes, and things, issues to do with money. I mean, it could be, for example, in case of, that the party's over, and the poverty card could be not only for Russia, but, because they're talking about very severe sanctions. And this is in a coordinated way. And actually, this time, the world getting together, I think they mean it. And I said, if there is any kind of incursion or anything like that, it's likely to be like that. Do you remember I said it would be a little scrape, if at all? Because really, this is for me is much more about posturing. This is much more about posturing. This is much more about Russia's place in the world, which is what I suspected, but we're going to look into the chart. So let's get stuck in. So first we're going to do America and Russia, and then I'm going to talk about the key players. I'm going to talk about Biden, Putinska, Dark Larange, Merrick Garland, and Mitch McConnell, and how they work as characters. But the two main characters here are Biden and Putinska. Yeah. So that, I just want to contextualize it that way. But first, let's look at the countries first. So here we are, the chart of America. Yeah. Now you guys are used to seeing it on this back thing here, but I think here it's much clearer, it's much easier to see. Now, what is the timing of this chart? This is the signing of the American Constitution on the 4th of July, 1776, 1830, Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia. Now, many of you who watch different channels and stuff like that, you will see us astrologers use different charts for the USA constitutional chart, because of course, it didn't all happen overnight, and it's valid to try different charts. Some people think that it's a Sagittarius ascendant, as I do. Some people think it's a Scorpio ascendant. Each astrologer has their own reasons for it, but this one I have found works beautifully. It does work very well, and for me it's been very accurate with my predictions and such. So I'm going to use this one. Now, what are we going to be talking about? What we're going to be talking about is where the planets, the transiting planets, what signs they're in. Remember, I do the sidereal signs, not tropical Western. I do sidereal Vedic Indian astrology, which tracks the progression of the stars, which move backwards. Say after me, by 1 degree every 72 or 71, 72 years. The stars move backwards by 1 degree. This is astronomical fact. It's not made up. You can ask NASA if you're not sure. We'll leave the debate there. Yeah, go check with NASA. For those that think otherwise, it's just fact. Yeah, okay. Western astrology still works. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, this is not a downer against Western astrology. Western astrology still works, but when it comes to specific, really, really accurate kind of, particularly when it comes to, look, I'm not even going to go there. I do Indian astrology and it's very accurate. Let's just put it that way. And you guys who watch my channel, you know this. Just watch you would have seen my videos, and I'm sure over the years, you've reached your own conclusions, and you're all intelligent people. Anyway, I leave it there. Now, this chart here, what I've done on white paper here. Now, I know it looks it's very reflective, but this is where the planets are today, sidereally, yeah, here. Now, the important thing is this, is Capricorn, and Aquarius. And I'm calling this the zigzag. You remember on the last Hodigo, I mentioned the zigzag. Why am I calling it that? Because A, it looks like a zigzag, but there's something very important for everyone to understand contextually about everything that is going on in the world right now. We need to understand that Saturn, planet of, now what Saturn is extremely strong, extremely strong. Why? Because he rules the signs of Capricorn and Aquarius in old money. You need to remember, I use the old traditional rulers plus the new ones on top, but we must never forget the original rulers of the sign. They still own it's like they own the deeds. Yeah, if you think of a property, they own the deeds. You know, you might have a newer planet on top, but the old planets own the deeds. And so yes, Saturn rules sidereal Capricorn and sidereal Aquarius. At the moment, we have Pluto, Mercury, Saturn, the Sun, Jupiter, and Neptune all in the signs of Saturn, which means they're paying rent to Saturn. Saturn is like the main dispositor. That's the word we use, dispositor. So basically, he's the landlord of any planet that's in his signs. Yeah. What will happen is, as the weeks go by, more and more planets are going to come into either Capricorn or Aquarius, which means that Saturn is going to be the landlord, the dispositor for every planet in the sky except Uranus, who's squaring all of this from sidereal Aries. And on top of this, we are also, remember, in Kala Sarpa Yoga, which is when all the planets are one side of the nodes of the moon. The only one that quickly breaks this is the moon herself, because she moves so quickly. The moon only spends 2.5 days in each sign. Let's not forget, where, you know, the sun spends a month, for example, and, you know, so does Mercury and Venus to a greater or lesser extent. Yeah. So what will happen is, at the moment, the moon is here breaking that Kala Sarpa Yoga, but in a full day, few days, she's going to come back in on the 16th. Yeah, which is what? Tomorrow is the full moon. And that is going to be happening in Magha, Leo. So you see today the moon is currently at 23 degrees and what's that? 56 minutes of sidereal Cancer. How funny that I should be doing it right now when I'm a Cancer rising. But, you know, basically tomorrow, because the moon moves so quickly, she's going to be in sidereal Leo. So the full moon is going to be happening around about 3 degrees of sidereal Leo, because the sun is also at 3 degrees of sidereal Aquarius. So they'll be opposite each other, which is a full moon. When they're together, it's a new moon, and the moon is dark. So there's that. Now, think about this. What does Saturn represent? Saturn represents rules, regulations, structure, limitations, represents responsibilities of all kinds. He represents government. And when he's in Aquarius, the Aquarius part also represents distribution systems of all kinds. Saturn represents pressure, growing up, maturity, reality, karma. Do you remember when I've been saying that? I said Saturn's going to be dishing out karma for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And even when we go for the ice cream in the freezer, we can eat our little bit of ice cream, but there's going to be crow pie in there as well. Think, everyone, of the intensity that we have all been through. Saturn moved into sidereal Capricorn around about the 30th of January 2020. Look what's happened since March 2020, especially when the nodes of the moon moved into sidereal Gemini, Ardra, and sidereal Sagittarius, Mula, which is the most destructive and bombastic and dramatic and over-the-top parts of the sky. And it also deals with pandemics. The nodes of the moon are known to deal with pandemics. Mars can deal with pandemics as well when he's in sidereal Virgo. And he was in sidereal Virgo in the autumn, September, October, going into November of 2019, when we know what was brewing in we know where. Yeah, this is how these things, they all fit together. So I wanted to contextualize it all so you can understand why it's so intense and cray-cray. So we're all under Kala Sarpa Yoga, which won't be broken until April. Do you remember I said great truths will be coming out, but not only that, the nodes of the moon will be changing signs. At the moment, if we look here, nodes of the moon, I know we're doing a lot of astrology here, but I'll get into it. Just this is to contextualize why everything is so intense. The nodes of the moon, now they move in backwards. They start at a higher number and go lower. So if we look here, there's Rahu and Ketu, which is always opposite, and they are at 2 degrees 59 minutes. So they're basically at 3 degrees. That number gets lower and lower and lower until they go into the next sign where the number goes high again and goes lower. Whereas planets which go the opposite way, they start low and go high, and then the number repeats. Yeah. So they're going to go into sidereal Aries. Yeah. In March, round about the middle of March. They're going to go here, and then Rahu, gobble gobble, as you know, or tumble dry, or Pac-Man, as I often refer to him, will also be joining Uranus, which is the planet of sudden shocks and surprises, liberation, and all this kind of stuff. So you're going to have two very bombastic energies coming together in March, and then Jupiter and Neptune are also going to come together in March, April, where Jupiter expands everything, and Neptune is the great dissolver, but also the planet of subterfuge, illusions and delusions, secrets and scandals. Jupiter is the planet of truth. Yeah, so those two are coming together. Both of them are oceanic. Neptune literally rules the sea, and this is why I said in my 2022 predictions, I said we're going to be dealing with either sea rise or water events. It's going to be very watery. But there's going to be a lot of, there could be a lot of illusions and delusions, but there could also be lots of spells being broken as well. We're going to wake up. Do you remember how I said as well in my videos? I said leopards will be changing their spots. Look what's happened in the last few weeks. We've had literally Duck L'Orange come out for vaccines. No one ever thought that was going to happen. We've had Mitch McConnell, who's literally kind of broke the bowels, and he started to come out with his stuff. We've also had Mike Pence suddenly find his voice and say Trump was wrong and this, that, and the other. And so many other little kind of permutations here and there, backwards and forwards. So there's that. So there's a lot going on. Right. When it comes to the chart of nations, that's called mundane astrology. Mundane astrology. It just basically means, means the ordinary world. So wherever Capricorn and Aquarius is happening, those are the houses that are going to get most activated. So let's look at America's chart. So there we are. Capricorn, Aquarius. Yeah, very obvious. So that means those transits here. Actually, I should have done this on tracing paper. Never mind, whatever. That means there are 3 planets at this stage in sidereal Capricorn and 3 planets at this stage in sidereal Aquarius. Yeah. So what houses does that affect? That affects America's second house, which is all about what? Value. So in fact, let's talk with Shiva. Yeah, let's do it this way. So what's the second house? It deals with the face, the neck, the teeth, the voice, early childhood, food and diet, education, music, money, speech, singing, vision. The right eye deals with values and family values and self-values. Now, of course, that would be applicable to a human being, but to mundane astrology, it's pretty much the same. What are we talking about now? And do you remember what I was speaking about when I said inflation? Do Do you remember when there was that big eclipse, that big lunar eclipse where the moon was exalted at 3 degrees of sidereal Taurus? And I said there would be issues for the Queen. Yeah, there's been issues for the Queen. What happened? Barbados became independent. Prince Andrew has basically had to be tossed aside, yeah, and is now an ordinary citizen to fight his own battles, no longer royal. And I said there may be health issues. Look, now there's question marks for the Queen because she was struggling with her health, but Prince Charles recently tested positive for COVID and was with the Queen. So there's all of that stuff. That story could be developing, as we speak. But also as well, what is the moon? The moon is food. Yeah, the moon is food, nourishment. The second house also deals with nourishment, deals with values. As you can imagine, I talk with many of you when I have my consultations with my clients and stuff, and we talk a lot about America. We talk a lot about what does it value. We talk a lot about what's going on in terms of what? Security. The second house, along with the fourth house, deals with security. People are feeling what? Insecure. Why? Because there's issues with money, cash flow. There were the stimulus checks, stopped, even though that the economy still seems to be doing all right. What's been happening? The cost of living has been going up. Inflation does what? Depletes wages because everything else relatively gets more expensive. I think we saw the other day, Diane was telling me it costing $6 for a loaf of bread. Yeah, $6. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, even with the difference, for the pound, like I bought the other day, I bought a very nice seeded sourdough loaf of bread, yeah, for £2.50, yeah, £2.50. That's still cheaper than American bread, and sourdough over here is a bit more of a premium kind of bread. Do you know what I mean? Most of the time, our bread is still, even though it's more, it's under £2. But even for the UK, that's still getting close. For bog standard, quite cheap bread. I mean, you can still get the ratty stuff for like 89 pence or something like that. But it's going to chew up your insides or glue up your insides, and it's really not worth eating. But anyway, that's another topic. So what's happening? Global prices are going up. We know that there is this element here from the pandemic, etc., and the fallout of that, of closing down the economies and then surging demand, etc., etc. But as we know, a certain Putinska and Mr. Ping from China, of course, have got together recently, and we can see there's a bit of a collaboration going on. What's going on? China recently has bought tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of grains and pulses of all kinds. Yep, having a bit of a hoard. So what that's going to mean, less for everyone else. The price will go up. And Ukraine is also known as the bread basket of Europe. And it's having a bit of a ding-dong at the moment with Putinska. Yeah, so what's that going to do? That's going to affect those prices. And it's affecting the oil price. Now, you remember in the last Hodiger, I said what I think the collaboration is. Now, of course, this is for entertainment purposes only. I think that this is a little join up here, two little ring fingers across the aisles, where by causing this disturbance, it's what? Raising the prices for everyone. And you remember what I said? I said when the prices go up and keep going up, and it gets more expensive for your can of gas and your commodities and your everyday kind of stuff, I said, who's going to get the blame? Think about it logically in America. Who's going to get the blame? Biden. Yeah? He's going to get the blame. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just talking about, I'm being Saturnian here. Reality. He is going to get the blame. Now, I'm not saying that's fair. It's not. Of course it's not fair. But also, as well as a politician, what we have to do, we have to try and counter the narrative and try to avoid falling into traps. Yeah. And now we're going to kind of look at where these planets are falling in the chart of America and the chart of Russia. Now, I've already said here, so I've already talked about the second house. Third house, what's the third house? So this is where the other planets are in Aquarius. Now, for America, third house, what does it deal with? It deals with the hands, the arms, the upper lungs. It deals with hearing, yeah? It deals with courage, practical skills, life force, the creative arts, all forms of communications. Now, it's not going to deal, obviously, in the context of siblings here, etc., and stuff like that, but it also deals with sales, entrepreneurship, self-employment, self-made money. And it deals with competition and all forms of communication, including what? The media, yeah? What's been going on? Media, this thing, blah, blah, this story here, etc., etc. Who are the people that have been most affected by what? The distribution system's not quite working out properly. Entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, and what? Small and medium businesses. That's what the third house deals with. It deals with self-employment. It's not big corporations. Big corporations is much more like the 10th house, 11th house, that kind of thing, even 9th house. Third house is everyday people, everyday commutes. It's driving your car to work or topping up the tank, or it's about tangible skills. It's about the money you earn for yourself and your ability to learn. And what's been affecting, all of those planets there in Aquarius. Distribution systems have been affected because of what? Lockdowns, etc., which was that process that we're now coming out of. So we can see, just by looking at those two signs for America, we can see how America's being affected. All right, let's look now at Russia's chart. Now, Russia's chart, this one works very well. Now, I've got this down as the 25th of December, 1991, 12 midday. That's when essentially Russia became the federation after the fall of the Soviet Union. And they have an Aries ascendant. Aries, yeah? Which means the chart is ruled by Mars. What's Mars associated with? You've guessed it. War and weapons. See a little pattern here? Yeah. Now, does it mean that every Aries ascendant person or whatever, or nation is warmongering? No. But in mundane astrology, when we're talking about countries, we need to take the ascendant of the country very seriously, because that will describe its energy. And what I want you to look at here is this house over here in Russia's chart. Yeah. So if we count round, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh. Now, what's the 8th house? Say after me, you guys know it by now. Sex, death, and rock and roll. Yeah? Sex, death, and rock and roll. All right, I'm going to read it out. Sex, death, and rock and roll. It also deals with the private parts in terms of the human body, but of course this is a country. So it deals with transformation. It deals with traumas, wills, surrender, life insurance, addiction, psychology. It deals with disgrace, metaphysics. It deals with bankruptcy. It deals with inheritance, shamans, money from others, astrology, life force. It deals with conspiracy theories. It deals with alchemy. It deals with scandals. It deals with burning off karma. It deals with magnetism and charisma, corruption and murder. There's more. Russia has 2 planets here, 2. Mercury and Mars. Mercury and Mars are considered enemies. They're enemies in Vedic astrology. But what is Mercury? Mercury is the natural ruler of the 3rd house and the 6th house. 3rd house is communications. 6th house is health and overcoming obstacles. The 6th house deals with enemies. Yeah? What's Mars? We know Mars is what? Deals with war, But Mars, when strong, also deals with Mars. So here, when Mars is in Aries, it deals with the soldier. When Mars, like here, is in Scorpio, his own sign, he deals with the general, the master strategist. Here, Mars gets very cunning and smart and uses subterfuge and various different kind of machinations to get what it wants. It's not obvious. It's more subterranean. Yeah, it's like a submarine going in the lake. Even though the troops are posited everywhere around Ukraine, you know, on three sides, the approach of Russia or Putinska is going to be very strategic, very cunning. Will they, won't they? It's all a bit of a mystery, isn't it? Now here, what I've written here, now I first cast this chart. When did I do this? I did this on the 10th of June, 2021, so it's a while ago. And look what I wrote in here. I'll read you what I wrote. I wrote here, espionage and electronic attacks. Espionage and electronic attacks. Why did I say that? Mercury is an electrical planet. It deals with what? Emails, communication systems of all kinds, along with Uranus and Rahu, and deals with innovation. But Mercury is the planet of what? Communications. Here, where I've drawn this red star, what is that star? That star is called Antares. It's the star of autumn, and it is the star of war. Antares is the star of war, and it sits at 14 degrees 46 minutes of sidereal Scorpio. Yeah, I think it's in the, it's not in the tail, I think it's in the body of the Scorpion, something like that. It's in the Scorpion anyway, just put it that way. Now this Mercury, now what we need to remember is Mercury is a mutable planet who takes on the energy of whoever he's with. If he's with benefics, he's going to end in a, which is like friendly planets, he's going to act in a friendly way. If he's with malefics, he will act like a malefic, which is a cruel planet. Mars is a cruel planet and Mercury is there. So it's behaving what? In a more cruel kind of way. And this, like I said, Antares is at 14 degrees 46 minutes, so it's almost at 15 degrees. Guess where Mercury is in Russia's chart? It's at 17 degrees 25 minutes. That's very close. Any planet that, in terms of being conjunct a star, we use an orb of 3 degrees or less is considered a very close conjunction. It will take on the flavor of that star. Some people say 2 degrees, but really 3 degrees or less does it. So that is within that degree. So you've got the planet of communications, emails, electricity, communications of all kinds, conjunct the star of war, Antares, which is also containing Mars in his own sign, powerful in the sign of Scorpio, in the 8th house of intrigue, sex, death, rock and roll, corruption, espionage, you name it, the whole shebang. It's all there in Russia's chart, in the 8th house. Things starting to make a lot more sense. There was just a massive attack, hack of all like the websites in the Ukraine. We've had a slap round the chops as well from Russia in terms of, and again for entertainment purposes only, but this has been reported on the news. We had a massive attack on our systems, and of course the attacks on the USA, not only the main government departments, but all companies across the USA, where all this ransomware for Bitcoin and stuff like that have now become the things of legend. It's become epic. So now do you see how, when looking with sidereal astrology, how it all starts to add up? Like I said, Western astrology still works, just so you guys know. This is not a bash against tropical astrology. It works very well. But what I'm talking about here is specific stuff. Do you see how it correlates? That's where they are. We all know what's going on in Russia. So let's cover where these transits are. So for Russia as a nation, the transits are happening in the 10th house with Saturn. Yeah, so they're actually having a Saturn returns at the moment. And they're happening in the 11th house. What's the 10th house? And you will see, this is where the emphasis is. 10th house deals with public duties, but it deals with career, presidents, reputation, bosses, fame, father's wealth. Now, obviously, it's not father's wealth in this instance, but it deals with honors, vocation, purpose, status, government, and authority figures, highest achievements. What do you think what's Russia trying to achieve right now? A higher status. That's exactly what's happened. What he's done is he's rattled the cage and he's been, all right, douchebags. Yeah. You think you can mess around with Russia? You think you can ignore us? You think you can do this, that, and the other? I'm going to rattle the cage. I'm going to pile up the troops on the border so you will do what? Pay attention to me. The 10th house in mundane astrology is what we present to the whole world. It's the stage. It's the house of pressure. What's the 11th house? Deals with hopes and dreams. Great gains. Deals with attainment of desires, lump sums or large amounts of money. It deals with friends. It deals with eldest siblings, obviously not in this case. It deals with internet, groups and organizations of all kinds. What is a certain Putinshka complaining about? NATO. Yeah? I shall continue. It deals with business. It deals with internet. It deals with social expectations, social conformity, herd mentality. It deals with approval from others. It deals with groups and organizations of all kinds, humanitarianism, and side hustle income. So when we look at that, now it becomes quite clear, isn't it? Russia's been speaking up against what? A certain group and organization, NATO, yeah? Which is what? A collection of what? Allies, friends. Russia's saying, look, you guys are getting too close, at least from their opinion. But at the same time, it's also the house of hopes and dreams. What is it that Russia, or shall we say Putinshka, is hoping for, dreaming of? Maybe a reunification of the USSR. He wants those countries back. That's part of his hopes and dreams. The 11th house is big desires, huge desires, life ambitions. Yeah? And there it is. The Sun, Jupiter, and Neptune are all in there. Jupiter is expansion. Neptune is illusions. The Sun is leadership. See, it starts to become very clear now, doesn't it? Potentially what Russia wants as a nation. Let's talk a little bit about China. Oh gosh, look how quickly the time's going, but I hope you guys are finding this interesting. All right, China. Where's all this happening for them? Now look, China's Day, 1st of the 10th, 1st of October, 1949 at 3:15 in the afternoon. That's when China became officially the Republic, yeah? The Republic of China. Now, China, if you look here, this is very important. China has a Capricorn ascendant, which means all those planets that I've been telling you are piling up in their first house and their second house. Now, I've already said what the second house is about. Values, yeah? Values, money, etc., all that kind of stuff. China, look, food, yeah? Food. What are they doing? Or what have they been doing? Hoarding food, grain, and other bits and bobs. Yeah? What is it that China is also doing at the moment? It's been criticized for what? Its values on human rights, etc., and stuff like that. But look, it's about money, consolidation, savings. The second house is also a house of savings. It also deals with education as well. Yeah? So think about that. But what's the first house? The first house deals with the top of the head. But it deals with the physical body, the health, constitution, personality, innate inspirations, first impressions, appearance, character, and birth into birth into this world, and it is a Kendra and a Trine. Now, many of you who've had consultations with me have seen this little diagram. Now, what's this? This looks like the wheel of a boat, and this describes the angular houses. So I want you to imagine the angular houses are 1, 4, 7, and 10. Yeah, they have power. They have power. You know, anything that, they can turn the way. And then the trinal houses. What are the trinal houses? Those are 1, 5, and 9. They deal with luck, dharma, purpose. So many of you will worked out already. The first house does double duty. Any planet or planets in the first house will have its hand on the steering wheel and will be able to turn that person or that nation. And for China, as I've said before, the planet in the first house is the moon. Now, the moon is technically in an enemy sign here. The moon will always adapt to wherever she is, but she's in an enemy sign. Moon and Saturn are not friends. Where are the transits? If we look, Saturn is going through, along with Mercury, Pluto, and then Mars and Venus will actually catch up and go into that house as well. So the first house in mundane astrology, when we're talking about a country, represents literally the presentation of that country. Yeah, its personality, how it feels about itself. So what this means is China is going through a transformation right now, where it is reassessing itself in the context of the wider world and what impact it wants to make. It wants to what? Share its values, or promote its values, or maybe impose its values, second house, on what? The rest of the world, or those it sees as its children that it wishes to educate. Hong Kong, remember that? Taiwan could be in the mix. I was also watching something on the news on the other day where we've heard also as well, of course, about the Uyghur. Yeah, like I said, for entertainment purposes only. We all know what's happening to them. But also as well, there is an element where the state, not the people, what we got to remember, I'm talking about the Chinese state here. I don't want people going out hating and all this kind of stuff, as we discussed in Heidegger on Friday. People just taking that as an excuse just to attack Asian people. I'm talking about the state, the decision makers. This is a tiny elite, yeah? And now they're reaching over borders. They've also got sort of like a special deal with Qatar, yeah? Where anyone that the state believes to be an enemy of the state can actually be deported back to China, yeah? So here, with all these planets here in the first house, it is a reassessment, like for any person. It's a re-evaluation of your whole presentation, how you want to come across. But they're also having something what is called Sadi Sati. What is that? That is when the moon, or shall we say when Saturn, is one sign away with the moon, and one sign after. Yeah? So if we look at China's chart, we see here, the moon is in Capricorn. Saturn is transiting over China's moon. It's having Sadi Sati, which can mean 7 years of trials. Now, how bad those trials are depends very much on individually on the person and, what they're like and how well they deal with what? Reality. China is a Capricorn nation. Saturn is the chart ruler, and it's going back through the first house. What is Saturn? Saturn deals with government, authority, restraint, restrictions. The shadow of Saturn is authoritarianism. Yeah? Do you see? This stuff is not a joke. Do you see? This is real. This is real. Like my clients know, many of you booked and and stuff like that. This is how I go through clients' charts as well. And we just talk about life as it pans out. As long as I've got the birth time and that's accurate, Rest of the chart, bish, bam, boom, it's all there. So all those things I've talked about, China is reshaping its image. It knows it's growing in what? In power. It is a Saturn-ruled nation because the ascendant is Capricorn. So even though this is Sadi Sati, which is putting pressure on the moon, and yes, China's getting heat, but at the same time, it's a reaffirmation of what? Their values, their sense of self and purpose out in the world. So this is a big deal. Soon, Saturn is going to go into Aquarius, which is China's second house. So it's going to be reevaluating that, and then it will come back into sidereal Capricorn. And then it's going to stay in Aquarius, you know, once it gets there for another 2.5 years. So Saturn is strong for 5 years, starting from 2020. So from 2020 up until about 2025. Yeah? And you guys might be like, oh my God, don't tell me that. It's just reality. Yeah, it's reality. The whole world is in a sense of flux and change, and it's just, we just got to adapt. We've got to go with it. And then we've got Pluto in that house as well, which is adding that dark night of the soul elements, but also adding those elements there of transformation. Right. Okay. Let me just quickly pause for a second. Comfort break. Okay, I am back. Got to drink lots of water, a lot of liquids for these things. So anyway, so just to kind of round up there, look, China, so what is having a reevaluation, a reappraisal of its standing in the world personally. Yeah, it's going through a rejuvenation. It's looking at its connections. It's looking at its influence in the world. It's looking at its economic strength. It's starting to consolidate, hoard on some level its resources, its food. It could be hunkering down for an event and then maybe to kind of emerge even stronger afterwards. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. So there's that. All right, so what I want to do now is, gosh, the time has gone quickly. We've covered the charts. Now here, when I talk about Biden, when I talk about Putinska, and when I talk about not so much Merrick Garland or Mitch McConnell, because they don't really encapsulate, can't really be summed up as characters. But Dr. Larange can, and I've got another idea. Anyway, so let's talk about these two. Now, when it comes to Putinska, I was thinking an even better name for him, particularly in terms of what is going on right now in the world. And again, like I said, for entertainment purposes only, I wanted to show you an old book from childhood. Look at this baby. This book is called Broomsticks and Beasticles, and it's by Barbara Slay. And this book is a dear fond book of mine. I was checking, this was printed in 1981. Oh my God, can you believe it? And I think, look, it's even just even here. Look, it's got an old library card in it. Look, it's got old address in there, and it's been used by, obviously read by many kids. Look at that. Look, back in Hackney. What's it saying there? Oh, it's just remarkable. Anyway, but you can see here's published by Hodder and Sloughton. I think it is Hodder and Sloughton, 1981. Anyway, now here you can see, and there's all these various different things. So you've got this, the Princess and the Volcano, the Snitterjipe, the Welsh Incident, the Monster of Rasay. This is a book that is a collection of fairy tales from around the world, and I loved reading this as a kid. And it's got beautiful illustrations. So if we look here, look, you can see where some of the kids have colored it in, but you know, you got these illustrations here. What else do I want to show you? Look at these amazing illustrations. Yeah, so you can imagine reading those as a child. Now, why am I saying this? There is a Russian story in here, a Russian one. And this starts on page 101. And I think this is an appropriate name for Putinska as a nickname, or at least in his role that he's playing right now. And it's called the Baba Yaga. The Baba Yaga. Now, why do I say, what does Baba Yaga mean? It means witch baby. And a Baba Yaga is, according to the story, a witch baby that's born with iron teeth. And what it does is it eats everyone around it. Anyone that's around it, it will eat. Yeah? Until it has consumed everything. And that made me think. It literally just came to me. I was like, wait a minute. I remember that story. It percolated out of my consciousness. Anyways, so this is, here we are, a Russian story retold by Barbara Slay. Yeah, so the Baba Yaga. Yeah, the Baba Yaga. And essentially, long story short, a king and queen had a son, but they longed for a daughter. But unfortunately, the daughter was born Baba Yaga. So here we are. So he's tending to his horse, and this is what happens. His nurse sort of like comes out, and she's running, yeah. And anyway, it says, and he says to her, "Why are you in such a hurry, babushka?" asked the young man. And she said, "To warn you," panted the old woman. "Mount your horse and ride away as fast as you are capable, or you are able, for the Tsarina, your dear mother, has had a baby girl." And he said, "But why?" "Because I have a sister, must I ride away?" said Ivan Tsarevich. "Because she is a Baba Yaga, a witch baby," said the old nurse. Yeah? So anyway, long story short, he runs away and goes to meets the Empress of the Sun and all these different people that he meets along the way. And then eventually he gets so curious, he wants to know what has happened in regards to his baby sister and the family and stuff like that. So anyway, so he went back home, and it says there were no soldiers standing on guard, no servants, no courtiers to break the silence. When he called his witch sister, she came to meet him, all smiles and false welcome. And the wider she smiled, the more he could see her iron teeth. This reminds me a little bit of what is going on with Putinshka right now. People are what? Coming to the table. They're going to what? Moscow, to his kingdom, giving him audience. Yeah, you see my logic here? Anyway, this is what she says. Indulge me. I know this is a bit random, but as you know, I'm changing it up on this channel. "Dear little brother," she cooed, "how good it is to see you. Sit down and play the harp while I prepare a supper to celebrate your return." So Ivan sat down and uneasily fingered the strings of the harp. As he did so, a little mouse crept out from a hole in the wall and said, "Do not stay here, Ivan Tatsarevich. Ride away, young man, as fast as you are able. Your sister, the Baba Yaga, with her iron teeth, has eaten everyone who lived in the palace. Your father and mother, the soldiers, the courtiers, and the servants, so that there is no one left. Even now she is sharpening her iron teeth to eat you up too." For me, Ivan Tatsarevich is Ukraine, with Baba Yaga trying to eat and devour them. Makes sense? And they've had to run to what? NATO, the Empress of the Sun, or whatever, for what? Protection. It just came to me the other day. Well, today I was like, oh my goodness. Anyway, so one of the things that happened, I'll just finish off. So imagine her. I've skipped. Imagine her fury when basically the mouse played the harp to give him time, and he said, "Thank you, Mouskin, for your warning." And then Ivan leapt on his horse and rode away back towards the sister of the sun. And the little mouse ran up and down the harp, twangling the strings so that Baba Yaga thought her brother was still there. Yeah, this is almost like the West threatening sanctions and stuff like that, playing the kind of mood music to try and deter Putinshka. Yeah. Imagine her fury when she returned with her iron teeth all sharpened to eat him up and found he was gone. So she said, "So you think you can escape from me, brother?" she cried. "Not so. I will find you, even if you hide at the ends of the earth." So then she gets into her machine and she starts her pursuit. And then all of his friends he met along the way throw obstacles in the way of the Baba Yaga to protect her, to give her time until Tsarovich is able to get back to the Sister of the Sun and he's safe. And I think that story is going to play out the same way for Russia-Ukraine. There'll be a lot of crowding, a lot of noise. You know, Putin's going to be gnashing his iron teeth. But hopefully, the for Ukraine, who's playing the Tsarovich character, will be ultimately what? Protected by his friends. Let's hope that comes to the case. So, Biden, on with the analogy of stories. Now, look, listen, some of you get very upset if I talk about Biden and some of his shortcomings. And I just want to say this. We are in very, very pressing times. Please do not take anything that I say about Biden personally. It's too important. It's too important. I'm here condensing, distilling, trying to describe energetically and metaphorically what is going on in our world right now. And Biden is part of that. Biden is part of that. We know we want the best for him. Of course we do. But we also have to observe with our eyes at what is actually happening or not happening. So the character that I choose for Joe Biden is Jack and the Beanstalk. He's Jack. And although you might think, but think about it. What did Jack do? He took the cow to the market and sold it for magic beans. Now, rightly or wrongly, what's been going on in the dynamic? What have the GOP been trying very, very hard to do? Yeah, scupper him. Yeah, because he came with what? These beans of optimism. The New Deal, that this, you know, the money. Do you remember trillions and trillions, which has been what? Gnawed down. For me, those are almost like those magic beans. Yeah, the magic beans that was going to be invested into America and what was going to happen. Yeah, it was all going to be, you know, wonderful and glorious. But the thing is, with Jack in the story, is Jack the most prudent character? Is he the most prudent character? Or is it more about hope and aspiration to something? Because we all know how the story went. When he came back to his mother, yeah, or shall we say, mother could be America in this instance, with his magic beans and with the GOP in there, what happened? They got tossed out of the window because people said it was fantasy. What you doing? This is crazy, yeah. And we've been seeing his numbers have been affected and stuff like that. And also, what's happened overnight? This beanstalk grew up to what? The sky. Jack got curious, went up to the top of the beanstalk. Who's there? The ugly giant, the ogre. And you remember, it's fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman, if it's the story. Be he alive or be he dead, I will grind his bones to make my bread. Who is that big giant, metaphorically, who's an ogre and ugly and towering, shadowing over America and the wider world? What do we see rising in the world? Hate, fascism, yeah? Totalitarianism. All sorts of isms are coming out. And what starts to happen? So Jack does what? He goes there and he steals a few items, doesn't he? He kind of sweet talks the wife and he steals a few items. So in a way, it's almost like Biden trying to steal away a few items to try and what? Give those treasures to the rest of America. Yeah? with that binding deal. And you remember I said, if the deal is passed, if I said America will become the wonder of the world, but if not, then it will be troublesome. So what does the giant do? He wants to what? Grab all that stuff back. If we think of like the GOP, for example, what? Wanting to hold all the wealth or everything, for their agendas. Not that the Democrats are perfect, by the way. Yeah. We need to remember as well, the GOP aren't the only bastards in the world. Let's be real here. Let's be mature. Let's be adult. Let's be grown-ups. Let's really start looking at the bigger picture. There's a lot going on, and that's why I'm using the analogy of this story. So I think Biden in as Jack in the Beanstalk is at the stage where he's climbing down the stalk. And he's got to decide what he's going to do. Because you remember, how does it work? The giant starts coming down. And then what? His mother runs into the house and gives the son an axe. And he has to start what? Chopping down the beanstalk. We need to see beanstalks like Duck L'Orange, like Bannon, like all the other collections of you-know-whats, MTJ, yeah, Margaret Taylor Greene, or, what have you, certain people over at certain stations. But let's not forget as well, no media is perfect as well, and I don't want to dismiss the opinions of anyone else either. It's all a mainstream. There's a lot of beanstalks around that need cutting down. And this is why I said Biden is Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean it in a metaphorical way. Now that I've explained it that way, it makes sense, doesn't it? Where is the axe? What is going on at the DOJ? What's going on? As far as I'm aware, as from the news coverage that I can be seeing, that, Duck L'Orange isn't even on the books in regards, and he's practically admitted to everything. Flushing documents down the toilet, chewing things or whatnot. Or, do you know what I mean? Saying, oh, vote for me and let's have another insurrection. What else does this man have to do to be in the clink? Yeah? So someone, Biden, needs to take up an axe and needs to start chopping away at these beanstalks, because there are too many ugly giants coming down on them. What do you think is going to happen when their feet completely touch the ground? What do you think is going to happen in the midterms and all that kind of stuff if this stuff is not put to bed? And I know that's, you see I'm being quite forceful here, but I think you all feel my frustration. It's very obvious now. There's no ambiguity at all about what is going on. This is not a mystery. This is not Murder, She Wrote. It really isn't. It really isn't. It's all out there. So we see what's happening. So we've got Mitch McConnell. We know what his ambitions are. He wants to be leader of the House again, nakedly obvious. Not a big fan of Duck L'Orange, yeah, because he sees, oh God, this is too much nutbaggery going on. He's trying to prise the hands of his parties off the crazy bus, yeah, before it careers over the cliff. And then Duck L'Orange is what? He's like the Tasmanian devil, yeah, as a cartoon character. Remember in the cartoon he's spinning around. Do you remember that? I would show the video, but it will probably get taken down because there will probably be a copyright request. So I'll just drop in a picture. He's in a spin. What? Because he's dealing with sixth house issues. For Duck L'Orange, this big thing is happening in his sixth house, which is health, obstacles, and enemies. That's what he's going to be dealing with. For Mitch McConnell, yeah, if we look here, Mitch. This is all happening in his ninth house, yeah? And he's already got, look, Venus there, and he's already got Mercury there, and he's got Ceres there. So here, what's that all about? What's the ninth house? Deals with higher learning, gurus and teachers. It deals with beliefs and politics. Publishing, travels, law and lawmakers. religion, fanaticism, spirituality, innate inspirations, education, languages, and travel and stuff like that. But it deals with what? The law and lawmakers, beliefs, politics. He's got all that pile up happening in his 9th house. And then it goes into his 10th house, which is what? Personal standing, yeah? Highest aspirations. So you can see he wants to change the dynamic of the politics so he can become leader of the house and increase his status back up again, rather than being the minority leader, yeah? Or whatever other ambitions he has. Do you see? It starts making perfect sense, doesn't it? For Joe Biden, this is happening in his 3rd house, which is what? Communication. So he's having what? Issues with his communication. He's struggling to get his message out to America because people are just, there's other stuff, there's other noise in the way. He is struggling to get his message out. And again, like I said, it's not a downer, but let's just be real. Let's be mature. Let's be grown-up adults. And let's not throw insults or be, oh, you're down on blah, 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 because I'm saying something that is obviously true now. Obviously true. We need results, yeah? We need someone with an axe to go around and chop down these beanstalks with cray-cray people up there at the top, yeah? They need to... That's what we need. Merrick Garland. Again, for entertainment purposes only. Look at this. He's a Capricorn, so he's got the same thing going on. Similar to what's going on with China, but look all the pressure he's been under about what? His character, his personality, everything that he's doing, yeah? It's all being what? Scrutinized, pressurized. Capricorn is also a sign of pressure. What's going on? But one of the things what I don't like in his chart, which I've said before, watch that video. I'll see if I can attach it. I think it will be when it comes to the end screen. I'll try and set up as an individual video if I can. If not, then I'll put in a link to other videos. But look, Pluto in the 8th house. Pluto is what? Planet of power. Manipulation represents a miniature 8th house wherever he is. So he's got Pluto in the 8th house. This for me is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. You know, that's very intense. It's very dark. There's a lot of machinations that happen in the 8th house, like I said. And Pluto deals with what? Power. Power. Also as well, he is in a Mercury Mahadasha, which means Mercury is very strong at that moment. And Mercury is in his 11th house of friends and influences. And it's in the sign of Scorpio. Intrigue. What have I put here in his chart? I wrote here, when did I do this chart? I did this chart on the 3rd of November 2021. And I put here, powerful people and associates are having a big influence on him right now. Does that not make sense in the current climate that we're talking about? When I mentioned that at that time, back in November, I got a lot of heat. Everyone was like, well, Merrick is, you know, he's only just starting out, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, give him a break. What's happened since then? Right, a big fat nothing. Yeah? We need to get real. What is going on? We need people to chop away at these beanstalks here that have shot up from magic beans. But also what's magic beans? A lot of illusions and delusions. What's been happening across not only in the world, but what's been happening across America with all sorts of what? Conspiracy theories, ups and downs, backwards and forwards. No one is 100% sure of what really is true, are they? So do you see now when I use that analogy of Jack and the Beanstalk? Makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Anyway, I don't want this video to be too long, and this is 2 videos kind of spliced together, so it's going to be over an hour, but I think it's worth it considering the topics and the subject matter that has been covered. So everyone take a deep breath. Understand that things are changing. This is not a Biden bash, but this is a reality check. There is only so much time left. These beanstalks need to be felled. Russia is obviously going to have to be dealt with, but also as well, we also need to recognize the power of China and as well. What's happening? The tectonic shifts are there are shifts. Things are changing. People need to get their ducks in the row. Countries need to get their ducks in a row. It's not enough just to throw criticism and this, that, and the other at this person or that person, but particularly in the context of the United States, it's about the values as well. The values. The values. What does America value? If it wants to still be the leader of the free world, it needs to, the values need to be assessed, analyzed. Things need to be dug up. Roots need to be pulled up. That's why I use that story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Many magic beans have been scattered around and they've sprouted. Now it's more like a forest. And it's now a forest that has to be felled in some way. But also as well, which beanstalks are truthful, which beanstalks are not truthful, which beanstalks are in between. This all has to be deciphered. Like I said, lepers will be changing their spots. The good guys or the ones that seem like the good guys may not seem so good, and the ones that seem like the bad guys may not seem so bad by the time all of this is all over. We have to see. It depends which beanstalk they were on. So I hope that makes sense for you. Yes, these are tumultuous times, and it'd be nice if my message were a little bit more positive. I mean, there are positive things, traveling, seeing the world, all of this kind of stuff. We can't focus on the negativity too much, of course, but a lot of you are interested in the politics, what's going on in the world, and the interpretations that I glean. So I will leave it there. I hope you like those analogies, but I think they really made sense, yeah? Especially when it comes to Baba Yaga, yeah? He really is, Baba Yaga. And I hope you've enjoyed that. Please leave comments, of course, below. And don't forget the usual to like and subscribe, of course, if you've enjoyed the video or share the videos and stuff like that. But I hope that was interesting for you. A little bit longer, but we covered a lot. Yeah, literally, we've covered a lot. We covered Russia, China, America, and then Biden, Putin, or Putinshka, a little bit of Duck L'Orange, Mitch McConnell, and a little bit of Merrick Garland. Again, for entertainment purposes only. I hope that all made sense for you, and I will see you all this Saturday where I'll be hosting Hodeiga again, and more updates about that nearer the time. And of course, and soon I'll be doing some travel as well. I'll be doing some travel over the next few months, sort of like April, May, and I'll be doing some videos abroad. That's the plan. Most of it is there, but nearer the time I will discuss that. So there'll be more adventures, and there's going to be potentially an international aspect as well. Something to look forward to. I will leave it there. See you on Hodeiga. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you like the analogies. And just understand, it wasn't a Biden bash, but I'm reading energy, reality. I want him to succeed. Yeah, I want him to do well in this respect, because then I want America to do well. But look at the challenges. You see the idea, the concept of magic beans is not such a weird one, is it? When we consider what has sprouted up from that since then. Anyway, I leave it there. Thanks everyone for all the support, and I will see you soon. Mwah!